I saw one of your charts that I'm really interested in is it's the famous chart, I think, which is the triangle, right? It's been building up. Tesla stock is building up, and at some point it can break out.
Normally, these triangle
Yep.
patterns normally are resolved by a move out of it that replicates the direction where the stock went going into the triangle. In this case, it moved from April, at levels right near 214 up to near 367, or about 70% very quickly. And then it's been going sideways for 2 months. But the triangles get tighter and tighter as the stock moves towards the apex. And then, my thinking is that it is in the process now of, beginning this process of breaking it out. And so we really need to see a move above those peaks from late July, which is, 338, and that should help to drive it up. And, if one wishes to project, you could measure the move from April to May and say that from early June, if you project up, that gets you right up near the low 400s, 425 or so. But, the key is Tesla's has really withstood a lot of pressure, and it's been going sideways at a time when the S&P 500 has been pushing higher. Of course, we moved higher by about over 30% or so within the last 17 weeks. So it's been a remarkable rally, but now this is starting to show evidence that it could start to resolve higher. And we note other stocks like Apple that are also part of the so-called Mag 7 also have moved sideways up until this week's breakout. So I view this as having an above average chance of working in the back half of the year. And that also dovetails with some cycles that I watch.
The milestones, I know that you're doing technical analysis, but in terms of the milestones you're expecting to happen with Tesla, the robotaxi did roll out, these things are happening. Does that play into at all into your analysis, whether or not, first of all, of course, the economy does, right? You guys always do a good job of forecasting what's going to happen with risk on or risk off. But what about Tesla's, whether or not they're actually hitting the expected milestones?
Well, look, I think most of the traditional analysts are all waiting until we see credible evidence that this starts to affect their earnings, and that's really the key, I think, as to when the stock would start to accelerate, as we want to get more real proof. We know that all these things are in the pipeline, but we honestly need to see, we want to see some evidence that the things are really starting to gain traction. And so with all these bullish things in the pipeline, you certainly have to talk about them. And most people are wise to use those in their forecasts. But at the same time, the stock it doesn't always correlate with the fundamentals, first and foremost. I mean, that's exactly why we use technical analysis in these cycles, because there's a lot that's bullish, but yet, the earnings don't reflect that. And that's why the stock is range bound. So when that changes, then certainly technicals will start to line up with fundamentals, and that's when the move should really start to gain traction.
What about sentiment? Can you speak a little bit to what you think has happened to the sentiment? So I think what I've heard you say so far is that despite all the negative sentiment that's happened, stock has stayed at range bound, and that could be the floor, and then that sets it up to break through. Is that right?
I think that's right. I think it's very difficult for me to have a proper understanding of what sentiment is, because the majority of what we hear from the analysts has been bullish, and the majority of what we hear from the media has been negative. And so to truly understand if, what's happening across the globe is that people are still deciding to go a different route versus buying a Tesla is not something I have a lot of info on. I think that the majority of the news networks, I heard a report on Bloomberg earlier this week that said that, BYD was making huge inroads, and, and I look at the data I saw stats on South Korea, and Tesla was overwhelmingly beating BYD in every major category, So the media certainly has a big hand in controlling public sentiment. And I think now that Tesla has become less of a political stock, that's certainly, a good thing with regards to just concentrating on their core business. And the pay package has been approved, and I think that is, something that, should allow the company to really focus on its goals. But that's not honestly my strong point. It's tough for me. I have my own personal take on Tesla sentiment, but I, along with you and many, are very biased as being positive, and it's if you can convince those that watch the news every day that that Tesla's making real strides, and I think we have to see proof of that.
Yeah. All right. And so you talked about, you think it might hit, you explained it really well. October, November, shoots up to 488. What happens in 2026? Are you able to give us a forecast for that?
I think the first part of the year is going to be negative in 2026, not unlike what happened from February into April of this year in the U.S. I think that, if markets end up near their highs for the year, which I do anticipate, S&P between 6,650 and 7,000, we would have seen, 2+ years of 20% gains, and now a third year back to back to back where we're up between 15 and 20%. And I guess the issue that that I have is we're starting to increasingly see some evidence of some bifurcation within technology and various software stocks starting to roll over a bit, and some of the defensive groups are gaining traction. I think people are getting more optimistic on the stock market rally, and that's been notably absent. It was in at least May, June, July, and now that's starting to pick up steam. So if sentiment starts to get very bullish and we're starting to see breadth deterioration, then I think that at least in the first part of the year, that would open up the chance for a cyclical pullback or correction.
Pullback.
But as we know, look,
Yeah.
Tesla's been through the ringer for and it's been range bound obviously for some time, and so the larger pattern is still quite constructive, going back since 2021, and I think a breakout of the triangle is the first part of the process. I think it probably is starting, but we want to see a move over 338. Momentum has been improving. We want to see that continue. Technically a triangle pattern doesn't give you a whole lot of conviction until we see the breakout. We see
break through. Yeah.
Big volume flow back into the stock. Yeah. I mean, those are classic technical type signs that we can start to enjoy that kind of acceleration that we know Tesla is capable of and has done.
So last time we spoke over a year ago, you said that once it breaks through and gets to its all-time high, if it breaks through the all-time high, Tesla's the kind of stock that's going to go to like 700s or something like that. Do you still feel the same way?
Believe that. Well, I 100%, and I say specifically all-time highs. I mean, it did actually make an all-time high, into last December, and then it promptly failed. So now, if it were to happen again, it actually has more credence because it's already been tested once, and you basically have a giant base. And so my thinking is that is going to happen. The question is, does it happen between October and December of this year? That's not for, very, very difficult to put that kind of a timetable and say it's going to go above 600 and this and that. But I can certainly say with a lot of confidence that my cycles show a very positive bias for the back half of the year, and that it does appear to now be starting to show more momentum. And I think that a breakout is going to be imminent, and that's going to help to lift the stock.
What's your forecast for that? Are you able to share that? I know sometimes you got to wait until when you release the info, but we're all always bated breath waiting for what Fundstrat thinks is happening, because you guys are pretty good.
Both Tom and I have targets, up above 6,600 for the S&P. So we're both positive for this year.
Right. I heard Tom say that it's an all-time high.
Tactically, I'm starting to.
S&P will hit all-time high this month, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, we're almost there. So it's been a very quick recovery as of now. So both of us have looked at the world from different lenses and have come up with the same conclusion. So that's always refreshing.
Optimism.
I think tactically, we have to expect that we probably do get some type of a backing and filling in the market and maybe late August, September, and that will be a buying opportunity that I think most of us will look to take advantage of. I think the combination of good earnings strength, good economy, as well as just a nice technical rebound it's caused a little momentum, and technology has been very bullish for the market. And We'll see what next year brings. I think this is a year for risk taking. I think the majority of the market is in excellent shape, and I think Treasury yields are going down. The dollar is falling. Um, yields going down plays into the administration's goal of trying to refinance 10 trillion of that $37 trillion deficit, and that's possible with yields pulling back. And so there's a lot of reasons for optimism. And I share those. I think that it's wise to always put on the blinders and ignore geopolitical events or anything exogenous. You have to follow technical analysis. You have to follow what price trends are telling you. And for Tesla, we got a great move last year, of course, and this year was early on was a little bit of a disappointment, but it's been choppy, and now
And
the
you're saying that the
triangle
triangle's
pattern,
looking like we're really
is close to giving way to a nice upside breakout.
Upside
That's
breakout.
exactly right. No, Tesla
Near
actually
term.
hit the highs of that triangle.
Yeah.